Hey there. Thank you for joining me for Let's Talk About It with Xavier Fox. Get ready to continue this journey that we're on Monday mornings, Thursday and Friday afternoons. Be ready to laugh and learn. We're going to learn some other viewpoints on relationships, information on health and fitness, investing, sex, and much more. Today, Nyatu Marvell, also known as Hitch, is back with his segment Relationship Discussions with a Man. And he's here to enlighten and potentially enrage you with his viewpoints on relationships. Then, Nicole Williams, well, she's out of the country again, but we look forward to hearing her updates on next Thursday. And our What's Hot segment correspondent for DC is out being hot. If you want to participate on the show today, feel free to zoom in using the link which can be found on my Facebook page, Xavier Fox, or you can join the public Facebook group, Let's Talk About It with Xavier Fox, where you can get all the info and interact with the personalities on the show. If you go to xavierfox.com/radio-show, you can find the schedule for the month of January, and you can find out when your favorite personality or topic is scheduled to be on the show. So now let's get to it. Hey, Inyatu.
Hey, Xavier. Good afternoon and happy Thursday to you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. How you doing?
I am wonderful, wonderful. So this is the first show of the new year. So happy New Year and happy 2022 to everybody listening, and of course to you, Xavier.
Oh, well, thank you. And so, and what part of relationships are we talking about today?
Well, today on Let's Talk About It, I thought we should talk about green flags.
Green flag.
Green flags. And so while I understand that green flags can be different for men and women, and even from man to man and woman to woman, we're all individuals. So I don't pretend to speak for everybody, but I think that providing my own list of green flags can help people get some ideas, and I'm sure there'll be some that people relate to and that resonate with people.
Okay. All right. So let's get to these green flags.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So first and foremost, I want to talk about why it's important to make a list of green flags and to shift your focus to green flags instead of red flags if red flags is what you have been paying attention to and focus on. And I just want to let people know that that's perfectly normal, that we've all had relationships that have failed, not gone exactly how we'd like them to go, relationships and connections that ended up hurting us. And when we get hurt, the first thing we think to ourselves is, I'm not going to let that happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not going to do that again. And so unfortunately, over the years, some of us are walking around with these huge lists of red flags that are constantly on our mind and actually causing us to magnetize and attract those red flags. And so we would do better to use our mental energy and our power of attraction to think about the things we do want as opposed to the things we don't want. And so that is not to say ignore red flags, but even in this instance, we're going to call it the absence of a green flag, right? we're going to take red flags out of our vocabulary. And so for me, one of the first green flags for me is if a woman is happy and whole. Sorry about that. Which means that they demonstrate a healthy love for themselves, and not just what comes out of their mouth, but how they're moving in their lives sometimes can indicate how highly a person thinks of themselves or how much a person values themselves. And so when I meet a woman that I'm interested in, probably one of the first questions that I ask is, are you happy? And then my follow-up question, if the answer is yes, is okay, great. You know, what do you experience joy in your everyday life? And if so, you know, what does that look like? What are the things that have you cheesing throughout the course of your day?
And so what kind of answers would you be looking for to that question?
So that's the thing. I'm not, I want to get to know a person, not project who I want them to be or don't want them to be onto them. So I don't have a desired answer. It could be whatever it is, but when something brings someone joy and excitement and happiness, you can hear the inflection in their voice. And so that's kind of what I look for. And even if a person, there are women who said, sometimes I'm happy, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes I'm not. I'm a work in progress. And we dig into that conversation because even the happiest of people, everybody gonna have a bad day.
So what brings her happiness and joy is something that is actually somewhat detrimental to her health or well-being? Maybe she likes to, I don't know, hit the bottle a little much, or maybe she's a pill popper. I don't know.
Oh yeah. If I ask a woman what makes her happiest, she says alcohol with excitement, tequila, vodka.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. That is the absence of a green flag.
Okay.
Inserted in there. That is, she sounds happy, right? She sounds like the alcohol is really making her happy. But I know that this is not sustainable and this is not healthy, and I have to check my own self, not about alcohol, but it's just about vices, period. Things that, excite us. Sometimes the things that are good to us aren't always good for us. And so
Right.
I love to have fun in my life, but one of the questions I'm constantly asking myself every so often is, are you having the fun or does the fun have you?
That's a good
right?
question. Mm-hmm.
Because you can become addicted to a lot of things. You can be addicted to going out. You can become addicted to the club. You can become, addicted to partying in general, as well as, alcohol and drugs.
They say you can even be addicted to sex. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to confess. Certainly. I have suffered from an addiction to women and all that comes along with that. And so again, this is not a judgment on anybody. There is no age where I'm like, well, by this age, you should be happy and whole. No, life has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's timing. No matter how great I'm doing in life, I'm always a work in progress. And so, I don't know if we're ever fully 1000% healed in life and or happy, or even positive. It's just the majority. And so, but without individual happiness, without individual wholeness, a healthy relationship is nearly impossible because if a person isn't independently happy, then they will become codependent on their partner to create their happiness. And so eventually that will become a baggage to the other partner, where instead of doing things that make you smile because they like to do it, it's now a job. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. If that wholeness is not there, different dynamic, but same effect. There won't be balance. The relationship will be lopsided over a long period of time and very, very difficult to sustain, and certainly impossible to sustain as a happy, healthy relationship. And so that's my first green flag, happy and whole. 2, again, I'm a man, so I'm speaking for men, but I get the feeling that women feel the same way, just the opposite. But a green flag for me is powerful feminine energy. Softness, nurturing, using feminine wiles. I am convinced that if a woman has mastered her feminine energy and is submerged in her feminine energy, that she can get a man to do anything. Mm-hmm. And I mean anything. Rob a bank.
Oh, Lord.
Or buy your house. If a woman understands how to use the feminine aspects of her to magnetize the masculine traits of a man, it's supremely powerful. And then on the flip side of that, and again, I truly empathize. I don't think any woman wakes up in the morning or, is born and just wakes up and is like, yo, I want to be, as masculine as I can be. I want to be as manly as I can be. I don't think that's a conscious thought that women have had and or are having. But I know that trying to survive and thrive in the workplace sometimes requires that women channel their masculine energy. Having to try to fulfill both roles as a parent can sometimes cause women to have to channel their masculine energy. And so, there are some unfortunate circumstances that women are responding to at times with masculine energy. And I empathize with that. But I can see that it is a problem, or it can be a problem, because anybody on the planet Earth being aggressive with me will probably end up with me being aggressive with them at some point. And that doesn't lead to healthy relationships. And so I would never be with a woman whose opinion I don't respect. I would never be with a woman who I didn't feel like had know something I don't, right?
Right.
Or I would never be with a woman that I think is inferior to me, right? And so I have no such belief, but I have a humongous appreciation for delivery, right? And so I have had women express discontent with me about something fairly small, but definitely something that they should be speaking up about, and spit fire at me like a dragon about it. And then I've had another woman, start playing in my hair and giving me a head massage and rubbing me and telling her how much she likes it when I do this one thing, and how, it kind of makes her sad and disappointed when the other thing happens. I felt happy to oblige. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
I had a strong desire to fix whatever was wrong in that moment. And so when someone comes at you aggressively, sometimes, especially if you're not self-aware and it's unexpected, the first thing you're going to do is get defensive, right? Because it feels like an attack. And so when someone shares with you something that you're doing that's contributing to their discontent, or that's bothering them, or isn't making them feel good or safe in the relationship, that's important information. But if it feels like the way it's being delivered makes it feel like an attack, then you're gonna have people bringing up stuff you did before, or saying they didn't do it, and things of that nature. Whereas a softer approach, believe it or not, can work miracles. And so I'm not going to say that every time a woman operates in her feminine energy, that every man on planet Earth is going to melt and respond well. But I do believe, and from what I have seen, that in a majority situations, you'd attract more bees with honey than vinegar.
Right. Absolutely.
And, not to try to speak for women, but certainly to acknowledge what I, am hearing and seeing from women, is that when a man is totally operating in his masculine energy, that it helps them be in their feminine energy and helps them to respond well to things as well, when they feel protected, when they feel safe. And I was about to say I think, but actually I know that there is very much truth to that.
It is.
And so, yeah, let's look for the green flags. Because I did empathize with the women, I want to really quickly empathize with the men. Manhood does not come naturally. I want to repeat this so everybody understands, men and women. Manhood does not come naturally.
You know,
The
it's
universe.
it's funny because see, you can say that and get away with it, but when women say that, we get in trouble for it.
Really? No, I don't think. I don't think. I mean, we sometimes we put so much stock in y'all's womanly, intuitive nature and some things that seem to be innately there that I could see why uh, someone would be misinformed and frame it like that. But it's not true. Manhood does not come natural, and womanhood does not come natural. And so you have to be mentored in that area. You have to get some direction and some guidance in that area to do it well. Right. Uh, and so, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, young men or boys are not being exposed to what they need to learn to develop into men. I know a young man who, as a teenager, when offered $1,000 shopping sprees, $2,000 shopping sprees, uh, could never find anything to buy or even stay focused enough to shop because he was so accustomed to his mother just going out and buying him outfits. And when he come home every so often, it would be 4 or 5 outfits laid out on his bed with sneakers and stuff to match. So that when he became a young adult, he don't even know how to shop for himself.
Yeah.
And so, and not only that, he accustomed to a woman buying his clothes. Right? So now that he go out into the world, and this has been going for 20 years, 21 years, right? My mama go get me fresh. I see on social media all the time, women will post the shoes that they bought their sons.
Yep.
The sons ain't even got them yet. They're on social media like, wait till he see these.
Right.
Very proud of their son's shoe collection, very proud of their sense of fashion that they're passing on to their sons. But if there's nothing to balance that or teach him how to get that or learn to at some point identify the clothes that make him look the best himself, he'll be handicapped in that area as a man. And so that's just one small example, but in a lot of cases,
I definitely agree with you on that too. I believe that a lot of women, just maybe inadvertently or maybe even parenting out of guilt, I believe that they actually cripple their sons and stop them from becoming strong men because they do baby them so much and for so long. Oftentimes you can find not just a teenage son, but a son in their 20s and potentially even 30s, still very dependent upon their mothers.
Absolutely. And so, and vice versa. I know women that are in non-sexual, non-romantic, but partnerships with their fathers, that this is who they go to. This is who they partner up with. This is who they get all their advice from. This is who they sometimes get financed by. This is whose opinion they trust. Again, non-sexual, non-romantic, but fulfilling many roles that a partner would. And then when they meet somebody, they don't know how to transfer that over. And so, unfortunately, there is no school or no class when we go to school that teaches us these things. And, knowledge just doesn't, again, get downloaded with age if you're not introduced to it.
It's funny because I would think that her being close to her father would absolutely allow her to be able to relate to a man in her life much easier versus I feel like the woman babying the son doesn't allow him to grow to be a leader or, be able to make decisions that women expect men to make. However, a daughter with her father, because she's still going to play a feminine role with her father. So it just seems like that would transfer much easier versus the mother mothering and babying the son?
I'd definitely like to speak on that. First and foremost, always want to be careful with the words because when we interchange them, it changes the meanings of what's being said. So definitely what I was not addressing was closeness. What I was addressing was partnership. In partnership with their father. Like their father is their life partner in the same way some of these men, they mother is they life partner. That everything that they trying to do in life in the way that they would team up with a partner, they're doing that with their parent, which doesn't leave room for that with the opposite sex. And so, I'm hearing stories of a mother and the son jumping on the father, physically. Just,
Wow.
yeah, just what I would consider to be potentially unhealthy dynamics. And so some of the women that I've seen in these circumstances, and I'm not saying they're bad people, I'm not blaming them, this is how it went and it just never changed. And so, this is just where it is. I remember, I forget all of the context of it, but basically I was taking some women to the airport and they were going to land wherever they were going late at night. And one of the young ladies was like, I'm just going to get my father to come get us instead of her boyfriend. And I was like, your father older, why you going to have him getting up at 11:30 at night to come get y'all from the airport at midnight versus your younger, you know what I'm saying, boyfriend? And she was like, that's just how I do it. That's just how I do it. My daddy, my daddy, my daddy, my daddy.
Okay.
And so, again, this is the fathers. We're gonna try to be we think we're doing a good thing, and in some ways we are by loving on our daughters as hard as we do. But we have to be careful about how we frame things. We definitely want to set that bar high for them, but sometimes it creates a misunderstanding in those women. It's like they want a man to love them like their father does, and that's really not possible, and especially not from the very start. So if you have a child, this child don't have to do nothing to earn your love. You don't have to know nothing about it. They come out, you don't know what their favorite food is going to be. You don't know what their favorite color is going to be. You don't know nothing, but you love them from your head to your toe, and that's how it's going to be. And that love feels good, and it's an empowering to a child, right? But when misunderstood going into adulthood and placing that exact same expectation on everybody else around you, you're going to always be disappointed because even the most immediate connections still take time to develop and grow strong.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
agree. Yeah, and you know what? As you were saying that, I know someone who actually dated the father or was trying to date the father, but the father and daughter, they had such a partnership, just like you were saying. They actually did business together. And that daughter was such a huge part of his life until my friend, she felt like there was no room for her, So yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, absolutely, and in that regard too, that all that business is tied up with the parent, and I've seen it both ways: son with the mother, father with the daughter, where they went and got buildings together, they went and did
Yep.
this together, and this and bank account, and this is just how everything goes. This is the system that they have developed, and
Right.
it's difficult to break down that system to let someone else in. So,
Exactly.
on to green flag number 3. Self-aware, transparent, and open. Self-awareness is rare, very difficult to achieve, which is why so many people are not self-aware. And even those of us who would be considered self-aware are self-aware to a degree, right? But nobody can be totally self-aware, because to be totally self-aware would be able to experience yourself from the outside as another person, that is something that we cannot do. So you may look in the mirror every day and know yourself through and through from the position you sit in, which is you being you. But that is not the same as experiencing you as Xavier experiencing Nyatu, or Nyatu experiencing Xavier. But I appreciate and I understand the value of self-awareness. If, people have totally unrealistic views of themselves, it'll be hard to really get to know them. They definitely will never allow themselves to be held accountable for anything. And ultimately the relationship will result in dysfunction. Transparent and open is a part of that as well. I've been on lots and lots of dates in my life, first dates in my life. I think somebody put up a post a couple months ago and it was like, how many first dates do you think that you've been on? And I know that it is in the hundreds, plural.
Wow.
Absolutely. Not most, but many women I have encountered, and I'm sure women have experienced this with men, that right from the start, the person's approach and conversation with you is adversarial. Right? It's as if we about to go into a battle instead of a date.
Wow.
We about to go into a contest or go into a debate instead of a date. Or that person is not open, they holding back. And so as I was peeking at the list before the show started, and I saw this transparent and open on the list, it made me think of me meeting and engaging a woman some years back. And, I asked her, had she experienced anything that was maybe traumatizing in her life? And if so, how did she heal from it? And she wasn't ready to talk about that.
Was that a first date?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all. But within the first 5 conversations, for sure. And I didn't ask her what the traumatizing thing was, right? Mm-hmm. My question is, how did you heal? And so that's to find out, how do you heal from trauma? Do you believe in therapy? Is she gonna say, I prayed for 5 years? Is she gonna say, my pastor laid hands on me? Or, I just drink wine on Fridays and vent to my friend. You know what I mean? That is what the question was about. But I could tell, by her response and not want to talk about it, obviously something very traumatizing had happened. And that there probably needed to be some more healing. A few months later, some of her behaviors were going left. And I was speaking to her about it and spoke to a therapist about it, which it was weird because she was telling me how therapy doesn't work. Highly educated woman, she up to that point did not believe the therapy worked, but because she didn't want things to go left with us, she did speak to a professional about it, and the professional encouraged her to share. But basically, at some point in her childhood, her mother told her that her mother told her she didn't love her.
Okay.
So it wasn't even just that her mother never told her she loved her. She outright said, to her, I don't love you. And so that was like, manifesting itself really like in almost all of any conversation past 15 or 20 minutes. And certainly anytime we were around each other, it was coming out. Mm-hmm. I have a close friend, we were just chopping it up one day and, we talking about, like we always do, talking about just all kinds of things. And then right before he left, he was like at my door and I was about to close the door. And he was like, man, my mother has never told me she loved me or that she was proud of me in my whole life, and teared up and walked off. Mm-hmm. And so,
people don't realize that those things really do scar your children. And the thing about that, so I'm a certified life coach, and so one of the things that we touch on when you go into healing and forgiving because forgiving is part of that. You know, one of the things that we don't get a chance to really get to is the fact that our parents have gone through stuff as well. So where they are at is what allows them or makes them be who they are at those moments. Our parents, some of our parents probably would have done better, but they couldn't do any better at that time because they were dealing with their own traumas and stuff. And so, yes, your friend, because it was, I don't really remember my mom or dad telling me that they were proud. Matter of fact, I remember getting in trouble when I got all A's and a B on a report card, but I was tardy to class 3 times and I got put on punishment for being tardy to class 3 times. You know, and that was huge to me for a long time until I went through that certification process and I learned this about my parents. And now I've learned some more stuff. So it's allowed me to forgive and accept it. But just because they didn't say it, they may just not have had the words. But I know the feeling that comes from that. And people tend to continually seek acceptance and approval when they haven't gotten it as a child. Parents need to keep that in mind, what they're doing to their kids. And you don't just heal from it just because you turn 18 or 21 or 35. It's still in there, like you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a vicious cycle. I was just out in LA a couple of months ago and I was talking to my older brother and he just, you know, we were just agreeing randomly talking about all types of stuff. And he was just like, just think, man. He's like, our parents are trying to raise us at like 20, 21, and 25 years old. He like, now thinking back to what you was doing when you was and what you was thinking and how you were moving when you were 20 and 21, you know, compared to how much you know right now. He's like, man, they was doing the best thing. You know, he just threw it out there like, man, our parents was doing the very best that they could with what they had to work with. But again, the green flag is self-awareness, transparent and open. And, you know, my own testimony is, I want to say I've seen 5 different therapists over the course of my life at different times. I, you know, end up working with different therapists. But one thing that they all always said is like how much I shared the very first session. They would just be like, whoa, it usually takes people 3, 4, maybe even 5 sessions just to even like get warmed up. And you came in here and we was like ready, set, go, and boom. And the other thing is they used to hate for our sessions to be over. Like, wow, that time went really bad. They like, man, you know, let's not forget where we left off. Like, I got the impression that either it was very fascinating to them from a professional standpoint and or maybe even entertaining as well. But I think what we all really want is for someone to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, and still really, 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 really love us, right? But a person cannot love us like that if we have created a rule and standard and normalized not sharing who we are. And I think that in this world, especially now with social media, there's so much judgment and people going in on each other that I think people are afraid more than ever before to be true to themselves and to allow them to be liked for who they really are.
And I think I agree with that. I have a really well, it's funny to me, but I'm sure it's not so funny to people who are affected by it. So, you know, I'm back and forth to Milwaukee often. And when I'm in Milwaukee, because I don't have internet at the house, because anyway, I don't have internet there. So I watch regular live TV. And there is a commercial that comes on there and it talks about social media. They have a lawsuit going on against the social media platforms because it has affected the mentality, the mental health and well-being of a lot of teenagers. Suicide, self-esteem. This is a real thing. It's a class action lawsuit going on because social media is messing some of our young kids up in the head, you know, with the constant judgment and the criticizing and the what is it called? Internet bullying? What is it called? The bullying thing? All of that. That is an actual thing with a class action lawsuit going on.
Yeah, That's real. And there's a documentary on Netflix that goes into depth about how much manipulation goes into social media. And before watching this documentary, I didn't realize this, but Stanford is the only college in the United States, at least, that has a IT and psychology combined program.
Wow.
So that psychology can be used into designing the IT to, basically they're giving away free drugs. Right? These social media platform has studied human psychology enough to make the platform a drug to us. And it was crazy that all the designers and all the top people of these companies who have the intricate knowledge of that don't let their kids do it. They collect cell phones at a certain time. They have, mechanisms on their phones that track, the time, and it limits the time that they can be on social media, if they can be on it at all. Like,
I think I've seen that show too. I think because they can almost predict what the next thing is you're going to do on social media.
Everything. And so, yeah, that's a huge thing. And then real quickly to wrap this part up, the rapper Cannabis was on the Breakfast Club or something the other day. And he was saying he can't listen to rap music anymore because it makes him depressed. It makes him feel broken like a bum. He's like, everybody's talking about being on planes and Birkin bags, and he's like, I ain't got none of that. So he like, I listen to Calm, the Calm app, and so, some of the things that I see people do in attempts to go viral, or things that people photograph and video and share and choose to say in certain moments of their life is definitely an indication of most of us being affected by it. So number 4, green flag, is communication and listening skills. And Lord have mercy, this should have been number 1. My caveat to that is intentional questions, answers, conversations, and comprehension. And so, Xavier, I am going to be honest with you in this moment. I am a coach. I am a person who spent a lot of time developing my ability to communicate. And I really try to, and that doesn't mean I'm always good at it, but I really do stop and think about what I'm going to say before I say it. And I think about how the person might react it, how they might hear it. And so I try to choose my words carefully and put them in careful order to try to really help the person I'm talking to get what I'm trying to give them, the way I'm trying to give it to them. That is no easy task for anybody. That right. Everybody has their own definitions of words, their own triggers, their own reactions, their own thought process. Also, it's timing when you choose to say something to a person, how well they can comprehend it. But this is something that I have found to be, I am consistently attracting women and or situations and speaking in a way where there ends up being a communication gap. And so one of my most recent examples is I was talking to someone and they seemed hesitant to talk about a certain topic. And so I shared in that moment with them one of my favorite quotes, which is, avoiding difficult conversations in the short term eventually leads to long-term dysfunction. And I spoke to that woman a week later, and she went and had an emergency session with her therapist because I called her dysfunctional.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But I didn't call her dysfunctional. I didn't call her dysfunctional. And so again, I'm the common denominator. So I am taking a strong portion of the responsibility for this. But I'm finding, it's crazy because I talked about this on some podcasts a couple of years ago, but there are buzzwords out here that if you say those words to certain people, they don't hear or remember anything else that was said. So I said a whole quote and dysfunction was at the end of it. So I would think, she was listening to leading up to me getting to the word dysfunction, but I certainly wasn't calling her dysfunction, implying that she was dysfunction, suggesting that she was dysfunctional. in any type of way. I just understand that some conversations are uncomfortable, some conversations are difficult, but also in order to achieve certain things, sometimes those conversations have to be had. And so at the beginning of the show, you said I might enrage people. Yes, but not because I want to gaslight people, not because I get any enjoyment out of making women upset or even men upset. But some of this is difficult conversation. And so nothing, what I say is true, but it's not absolute truth. It's not the only truth, but in order for us to see the picture of the puzzle, the big picture, we need all the pieces of the puzzle. And so I pride myself in trying to do that. And so, yeah, this is a thing. I can give example after example after example of me being held accountable and facing the consequences of things that I did not say. And it's tough. It's tough to say the least. And so then I get into this space where I'm like, okay, we can only communicate by text because then it's in writing. Like, I think important conversations should be had either in person or certainly by voice, but I need the proof of what I say and do not say.
Because I agree with you sometimes, yes.
Yeah, I get misquoted so much. It's unreal. And it happens on my post too. A post will be about something and a woman will come in and go on a tirade and nothing that they said is connected to anything in the post. Mm-hmm. They just, needed a place to express themselves and or vent. And sometimes I handle it well. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get defensive. Sometimes I forget. And I get defensive and I debate with somebody. But that's something we talked about self-awareness earlier. I'm aware that that is a mistake and it is something I actually work on. And I ask people around me to hold me accountable or call me out on it when I'm being defensive. Because one of my goals is not to be. Go ahead.
It is good to work on stuff, but you also have to love yourself and accept yourself as well, because we're all human. So you're never going to handle every situation maybe the best way it could be handled, because you're going to handle it in the moment with all of the variables that's going on in your life at that moment. And you have to be a little forgiving of yourself if you get into it. I have made that same promise to myself. However, I don't have a real debate with this person, but there's one person on my page and the dialogue that he shares is so contradictory. It's like he says one thing, and then if you say something, then suddenly there's something completely different that comes out of that. Well, that's not what this is. And I'm like, okay, well, even if that was that. And so I have told myself I'm going to stop. Actually, I started to block that person the other day.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I can stop.
Yeah, sometimes I let people go. I don't want to have a page where everybody agrees with me. Right. I don't want to have discussions where everybody agrees with me. But sometimes some people are just trolls. It's like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, that is a thing. And it's something, I appreciate you saying what you said. I do forgive myself. I do give myself grace, but it is something I want to work on because I understand that I was trained and conditioned to be defensive. And so I believe that I can train and condition myself to at least, the vast majority of the time not to be defensive in the same way I was trained to be defensive. And so with that being said, we have to try to listen and comprehend and not, only hear things through our wounds because, it changes things around. And so I also get a lot of flack when I start breaking conversations down into kindergarten mode where I say it and I say, okay, what did you get from that? Because I want to make sure I didn't say it wrong. Me taking responsibility, right? And getting their feedback and then, fixing it if the understanding is wrong. But some people get frustrated with that. But then when you don't do that, you look up and a weeks later, a month later, or even a year later, somebody's saying, you said this to me. And you're like, just holding my head, like, why would I ever say something like that? to you. You know, I had a woman a year ago tell me I told her that I had no interest in marriage. And I'm like, I'm the Mr. Dear Future Wife. Ain't no way.
Right.
I
Yeah.
told you nothing like that. Are you crazy? I mean, I sometimes ache for my wife who, you know, isn't here yet, which I think is weird. I analyze myself when I'm feeling that way. Like, what is this, you know, impatience about in this moment? And so, yeah, that miscommunication happens more often than not, and people just have to decide to be intentional. You have to decide to say, hey, I'm going to try to just listen to the words that comes out of his mouth and only assign the standardized English definition to these words and understand it that way. But like I said, I'm the common denominator, so I'm working on my part of it. But I definitely, it's a green flag when, you know, a woman can hear me. And again, I don't expect, you know, the communication to be perfect at all times, but you know, sometimes I've spent, you know, hours or days or weeks, you know, having to try to straighten out a miscommunication with a person, and it's exhausting.
Wow.
And you know, again, it's an absence of the green flag, because it's like, man, how we going? If this is, you know, if this is, we have to go through this to communicate, you know, I don't have the stamina for it. I can admit it to myself. If every communication is a struggle, that's too much. I'm gonna be tired, and I'm not gonna be able to be my best self in this relationship. And I don't want to cheat anybody and not be my best self in a relationship. That's one of my indicators of compatibility. Like, you know, is this energy, is this environment, you know, am I being my best self? Am I likely to be able to continue to be my best self in this environment? Or do I know, like in situations where women are aggressive and masculine with me, eventually something slick's going to come out of my mouth.
Yes.
And no one's going to like it. I'm not going to like it. You definitely ain't going to like it.
You definitely want there to be a natural flow with communication. I'm the same way. Of course, any of us who teach or talk, you know, for a living or on a regular basis, which you and I both do, you want to be understood. However, when you participate in so many conversations over a period of time, I think sometimes we forget that all of our audiences, no matter how many degrees they may hold, because, you know, what I had to learn about, you know, the educated or those with degrees, that means that they were able to do their homework. They were able to understand what they were studying. They were able to get good grades in school. That does not necessarily transfer to common sense. And so oftentimes we have to look at our audience and what are they dealing with on a personal level? So how are they going to understand this? Like you said, the lady said, you said she was dysfunctional. Now, nowhere in that sentence did I get that you said she was dysfunctional. However, that was a trigger for her. And she went to talk to her therapist. She had a therapist on standby. So clearly she already knew that there was something underlying there.
Absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, when you have so many conversations daily, I think there's going to be some people that are just going to misunderstand you, because you're going to assume that they do understand because you do have so many conversations in a day. Don't beat yourself up about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Next is green flag number 5, easygoing as opposed to priding themselves on being difficult.
Oh, wow. That's a big one right there.
That's a huge one, right?
Yes, because I can agree with you on that one. That men fall into that one as well. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. You know, there are some people who, you know, they insist on making everything as difficult as possible, you know, and there are other people who, you know, if it's not violating them or it's not crossing their boundaries, they cool,
Right.
you know, about it. You know, I don't want to have my wife walking on eggshells. I don't want to give my wife anxiety about things. You know, I will hope that all the people that I love look at me and say, hey, you know, he's pretty understanding and pretty cool about stuff. I can talk to him about stuff. I can, you know, rely on him when I need him. I try to move in a way where that is what the impression that people have of me. So I'm sure sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. But on social media, there's tons of memes floating around, and I've dated enough to experience it in person. Women who pride, and it's funny, we live in this world where, we are trained and conditioned to believe that people take kindness for weakness, right? And so then people misunderstand what strength is. And so they think strength is being rude and obnoxious all the time. And so there are people who pride themselves on that. And there are some women who profess that they get much better results with men when they behave that way.
Wow.
I don't believe that they are lying. I think it takes all different types to make a world. And I could imagine that if a man was accustomed to certain behaviors from a woman from childhood, whether it be a mother, auntie, a grandmother, or whoever, that they may flow along with that.
Can I share a story?
Absolutely, you can share a story. Let's talk about
it. Right, let's talk about it. So I met this guy online probably about a month and a half or so ago, right? So I don't do much talking on the phone, but when I'm driving back and forth between Milwaukee and Chicago, sometimes I'll put on my earplugs and talk while I drive because I can't do anything else, not on the radio, right. Not on the computer. I'm just driving. So I was talking to him, and so now these are times when I can really get to know whoever it is because I got 2 hours and 15 minutes. Okay.
Right.
So he says to me, he says, yeah, people think I'm mean. So of course, my little radar goes up. Okay. So why do they think you mean? And he says, I think it's because I don't smile much. And I said, really? Oh, how come you don't smile? And okay, so then he went into a whole other conversation that let me know that he wears dentures, but that's not the point. So then as we keep going, he starts to tell me different stories. And he's like, yeah, and I had to set them straight. I had to tell them off. They knew once I said XYZ that, I had to get them clear. And he even quit jobs and got fired from jobs for his attitude and stuff. And so then, of course, that takes me back to the statement he made, people think I'm mean, right? So clearly you have an attitude, and he was proud of the fact that he tells everybody off and gets them straight. So when you said that, of course, I thought about him and that story, and people don't realize that they do come off, he comes off as mean. I like big guys. So he's like 6'4", 200 or some pounds. So you got this big dude that's telling everybody off. Of course they think you mean. They scared of you. And he's getting fired from jobs. And he's very grown because, I'm over 40. So this is a very grown man that can't control his temperament and his mouth to not get fired from a job. And people take pride in this. Yeah.
Yeah. People take pride in it. So yeah, definitely
share that story. So for those of you out there that's getting fired from jobs and taking pride in being able to tell everybody off, the rest of us are definitely not impressed.
Definitely not impressed. I understand it's a defense mechanism. I try to empathize, and I'm not here to preach to people what's right and wrong. I'm here to tell you what's effective and what's not effective, right?
Right.
Is this going to bring you the result that you want? This is how I determine things. I'm not here to put my own values and moral standards on anybody. I'm just, trying to give people some insight to help them get whatever it is that they like. And so, I prefer a woman who her influence on the relationship is more harmonious and easygoing. And so, if I can please my woman and it don't hurt me, so if you would like, if you really want this restaurant, I could care less. Let's go. You really want to see this movie instead? I could care less. Let's go. If the stakes ain't high, for me, it's going to ruin my peace of mind. It's going to ruin my health, whatever little preferencey stuff. If it make you smile, make you happy, it's going to make all our interaction better, then it's well worth it to me. That's just my thought process. And because what I want in my relationship is, peace and good energy, I definitely don't want to be experiencing difficulty all the time unnecessarily.
Me either. Because I
uh,
already knew what was coming with that. Because sooner or
yeah,
later, he was definitely going to tell me off. I just already know.
exactly, exactly. I try to tell people that about that too. That people are on social media always bragging about how quickly they go off and try Jesus, not them, and da 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 da. It's like, man, don't nobody want to sign up for that.
You said try Jesus, not them. That is funny.
You know, everybody want to brag about somebody will catch these hands. You know, I wish I
Yes.
would be
Yes.
47 years old on social media randomly, like nothing even happened today, but I'm just announcing that people could catch these hands. You know, it reminds me of high school. You know. I'm sure in the right situation, anybody can catch hands from anybody. But you know,
Right.
why is that even on your mind at this point, at this
Exactly.
stage in your life? But at any rate, uh, no bueno. Number 6 green flag is high regard for the opposite sex, relationships, and marriage. If a person has a doomsday mindset towards the opposite sex, doomsday mindset towards dating, relationships, and marriage, uh, that's the absence of a green flag for me. Um, one situation that really stands out for me is years ago I was really liking this young lady, and she seemed to be really really liking me, but she would go in on men all day on social media. It was like she would say like, I don't even like men like that. Like it was, it was excessive, and it was 90% of her content. And I would comment or ask her questions about stuff when I talked to her, and she would get frustrated with me, like, you're not them. I don't feel this way about you. But in the same way, what you just said is, life goes on and the relationship goes on for long enough. At some point, I'm gonna do something that displeases you, and when I do, I'm gonna all this avalanche of resentment and hatred you have for men is going to pour all over for me. And because I know I'm not going to sit here and be like, baby, I'm not like them, I'm never going to do any of that. No, I'm human. So if a woman is with me for 5 years, yeah, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe 10 of those days on a particular day, I'm going to mishandle you. I'm going to look back on that day and say, if hindsight being 2020, I should have said this, or I wish I hadn't have said that, or something along those lines. Doesn't mean I'll cheat, doesn't mean I'll beat you up, doesn't mean I'll call you out your name, but some type of mishandling of sorts. You needed me to listen and pay attention, and I wasn't. You needed me to be more understanding and empathetic, and I wasn't as tender as I normally am. Something is going to occur. This I know. And so I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who thinks it's their job to be a punisher. Like I don't even see that as my role with my son. Like I'm here to be his guide, his resource, but not. I don't look at it as my job to be his punisher. Not to say that. And I never even called him. He was never on punishment. He was on, you're not about to get no rewards for this type of behavior. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not here to punish you. I asked him how he want his life to look at every stage, 12 years old, 13 years old. How would you like life to go for you right in through here? And he'd tell me how he would like it and how he would want it. And I'm going to say, okay, so now let's do things and say things and achieve things that can create it how you want it to be. I'm not here for right and wrong. I'm not here for Christian or Muslim. How you want it to be. And let's look at everything we saying and doing and ask ourselves, is this moving it towards how we want it to be, or is this moving us away from how we want it
Exactly.
to be? But yeah, I don't see a way to have a healthy relationship with someone who hates men, and I definitely think no woman is going to find herself in a healthy relationship with men that hate women. And I remember my niece being about to go away to her freshman year at college 4 or 5 years ago. And she told me to give her 3 pieces of advice for college that she felt like would stick with her and help her throughout her 4 years. And one of the pieces of advice I gave her is that there were many different types of men, and that there are some men who really, really love women, and there are some men who really, really resent and hate women. And it's going to be hard to tell the difference between the two because they both want you.
Mm-hmm.
They both desire you. You know what I'm saying? So in certain stages in the beginning, they will both be doing the same types of things.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And if you're not paying attention, you will miss it. But
Yep.
the guy who hates you and resents you is doing those things so that he's learning you to burn you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
he's just going through the motions until he can get some leverage over you, and then take all his resentment and hatred that he has out on women and project all of it, the focus of that on you.
Yep. Yep.
And that time reveals all. So that if you don't rush and you take your time, I pass down this last piece of advice that my father gave to me down to my niece, is that nothing happens without a warning. You just got to be paying attention. The tire don't fall off the car without a warning. The car accident don't happen without a warning. Even sometimes when people pass away, you know, we may have not seen the warning, or what happened, they might not have thought it was the warning, but it was the warning. There's always an action and then a reaction. And so, you know, we have to pay attention to that. And so I say that for men and women. You know, unfortunately, you know, and I empathize with these people, their life experiences that made them have this deep-seated resentment and hatred. And, you know, they either don't have the resources or have not taken advantage of the resources to heal from that, most likely because they don't think they need to.
That representative thing is very hurtful to a lot of people. It leaves a lot of scars in relationships among men and women. As you were speaking about that person that hates women, or the woman that actually hates men, but they have a representative initially, because you know, the sex drive is a natural thing. Companionship, the desire for companionship is a natural thing. And sometimes they put that representative out there. They've perfected that representative, man. You meet that representative and you swear they in love with you.
Right.
Until they not.
Absolutely. I also want to throw this warning out there to the ladies. And, you know, I get a lot of pushback on this, but I've been trying to discourage women from making it a habit of going in on men on social media. And here's why. When certain men, types of men, or men in certain positions, the ones that hate and resent women, it makes you a target for them. That they like, she talking this shit. And so my goal is to have her bent over, pulling her hair and spanking her after seeing her talking this smack. And this will give me a huge ego boost and make me feel powerful. And at the same time, allow me to exact some type of unhealthy revenge on women because of my hatred and resentment for women. So when you are, you know, a woman told me last week, she's like, this is why the men like me. I said, this is why they desire you. I said, so in the short term, it's working for you, right? I said, but what's the long-term results? Yeah, they don't keep it up. Because they just want to, they like you feeling powerful, and they think to themselves, I'm more powerful if I can conquer that some type of way.
Exactly. And
so
any woman that's out here, especially with social media as it is now, they need to know that, and you don't want to learn it the hard way. You know, once you're out here on this social media platform, sometimes men are coming for you for the conquer. It's not because they're really into you. It's
not at all.
Conquer. You have to definitely watch out for that. That was one of the things that my dad taught me. So I was able to actually watch out for that anyway, just because I always did. But I'm glad that I knew that much, because absolutely I've met guys who were they just really wanted to conquer. Because, you know, there was a point back in the day when my page was always jumping with a debate, and I always had some little smart something to say. Yeah, but you know, after getting certified as a coach, you kind of lose that whole thing, and there's really, you know,
absolutely
for that. But yeah, that's important. Very important.
Very important. Number 7 is reciprocation, appreciation, and thoughtfulness. And so, you know, allegedly, men aren't as sensitive and or as emotional or emotionally um, needy as women are, but I think it's just in different ways. And so I understand that it is reciprocation is very important. Appreciation is very important, and those things can manifest through thoughtfulness. That nobody wants to be in a totally one-sided relationship. And I doubt that anybody feels fulfilled in a totally one-sided relationship. And so, yeah, men like effort, men like consistency too, right? We like to feel special too. And so I think I'm very special. And so if I find myself in a relationship or romantic connection, and I don't feel special in that, I'm probably not going to be in that very long.
You would think though, when I know for me, but I just think it would be natural if somebody really likes you and cares about you. It seems automatic that they want to make you feel special. What makes that person stand out from the rest? If you like this person, you want to stand out so that you are like just easily replaceable. You want them to think, well, if I get rid of this person, then I might not find something like this again, or it'll be a little bit harder to find something like that. But if you just standard, I ain't doing nothing for nobody, I want everybody to do everything for me, that's like a penny a dozen, isn't it?
You would think there's this crazy term out there called entitlement.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Men feel entitled to seem to, some, not all, some, not even saying majority, I don't know the numbers. Some men seem to feel entitled to women's bodies, right? And some women seem to feel entitled to men's money or entitled to lopsided activity in relationships. Some women believe that the man is just supposed to do more, and even in some cases, all. And then on the flip side, there's some men who feel like they shouldn't have to do nothing and still should be entitled to women's bodies, and or that there are certain things that if they do, that they're automatically entitled to women's bodies. So what I fully understand is I don't care what I did. If I transferred $1 million into your account, if I saved your mother's life, if I gave your child a kidney, I'm not entitled to anybody's anything.
But you'd probably be more than likely get it all.
Oh yeah. Anyway, absolutely. And I can admit that maybe contributes to my mindset, is because I spend much time thinking about that because it happens. So yeah, you would think reciprocation is a thing for everybody. I know a coach. She's not quiet about this, but she says another very well-to-do coach told her that anytime a man takes her to a restaurant, it needs to be one of the top 5 restaurants in town or decline. And then when she gets there, she needs to order the tomahawk steak, the most expensive steak on the menu. And then that is going to reveal everything she needs to know. How he responds to all of that is going to reveal everything she needs to know about a man. She says that if you don't want to be the one doing everything in a relationship, then that's just not your dream woman. That if you encounter your dream woman, you will want to carry 100% of the weight of the relationship.
Well, what happened to personal connection? Because that's what I'm looking for. I don't need an expensive steak. In the first part of my life, I worked in hospitality, event planning, and food service and all that kind of stuff. So I've already eaten everything, and I eat every day. I've been eating for a long time. I'm not sure why people put so much freaking importance on the cost of food. I mean, you eat every day until you die. Otherwise, you're going to eat every day. That me ordering an expensive steak is not going to tell me anything. I want to sit and I can go to the lakefront and sit and talk to this man and see how he fit into my life and how I fit into his. That's way more important and revealing with how a relationship is going to be set up, or if it's going to work. If you buy an expensive steak, that just means that you can afford to buy an expensive steak that day. Because after that day, if you buy an expensive steak, you might be eating ramen noodles the rest of the month. That doesn't mean anything. I don't get where people get that from. That is just crazy to me.
Yeah, my quick psychoanalyzation of that is a man who is trying to help certain women have a mentality that locks them into only dealing with men like him, and also to putting themselves in situations where men have leverage over them because they have money.
That's crazy.
Uh,
and I have dated men, several men who can afford to do that. But that does not mean that you're compatible with that man because he can afford to do that. It doesn't.
Definitely not at all. I will say this though, because like I said, even when I don't agree with somebody, sometimes what they're saying is true. It may not just be absolute truth. But I do think that no matter what a man is capable of, or no matter what his bank account is, he should have a desire in his heart to want to get himself to a place where he can do anything for his wife.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with that.
He should, I'm not saying he should go spend money he doesn't have in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but in his heart, at least, until he can, he should desire that his wife have the best of everything and, be wanting to move in that direction.
And the key word that you're saying is his wife.
Oh, yeah.
The key word that said in the
definitely not first date.
Right.
That's what a lot of women thought dear future wife said. It says dear future wife, but a lot of women thinks it says dear first date. They like, I want all the future wife action tonight. In the gate, day one.
Right.
Show up as my dear future husband.
And then you say, well, I want all of the future husband benefits tonight.
Yeah. So, reciprocation is a beautiful thing. Appreciation is a beautiful thing. Thoughtfulness goes a long way. And I just want to say that I have been blessed throughout the course of my life. I've gotten flowers many times, very thoughtful gifts, notes, just all kind of unimaginable things that, shocked me and swept me off of my feet at times in my romantic relationships. Number 8, green flag: kind, empathetic, and respectful towards other people. I have met women who treat me like a king, treat everybody else like garbage. I can't stomach it. No matter how great you're treating me, if you're mistreating everybody else, or you come off to me as just a mean person or a disgruntled person, that's the essence of a red flag to me. I like people who I'm attracted to kindness. I'm attracted to loving and caring motherhood. I'm attracted to mothers who love on their kids well and support their children or their friends. I'm attracted to people. You don't have to be a good friend to me. You're a good friend to your friends. That's something I admire, and I find that to be a green flag as it pertains to a person's character. If you're being nice to me, but you talking down to the waiter or waitress. I remember I was dating a woman and she felt like the waitress was flirting with me. And so she put some gum in her mouth and chewed up the gun and stuck it to the lady's tip.
What?
And no more dates with me. No bueno.
That is crazy.
Super crazy. My number 9 green flag is healthy friendships and relationships in their life. They have some staying power. If no relationship has worked in the course of their life, that's a concern. But when people have great relationships, great long-term friendships, and that's one of the questions that I like to ask in the beginning: who's your best friend and confidant, and why?
Yeah, that was another thing with that guy I mentioned earlier. He didn't have any friends, and he was um older than me. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you this question
Mm-hmm.
because this is one of those things that I guess maybe I don't necessarily understand. So this guy was 62, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had never been married and never had any kids.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an absence of a green flag? Because to me, like, and I asked him, I said, how old were you when you had sex the first time? And I think he said 17. So when I added it up, we're at like 40 some years, 42 years of meeting and dating women, and not a one did you ever want to marry? Is that the absence of because even at 42 years, if you just dated one person a month, which men do more than that.
Right.
12 times 42, that's a whole lot of folks.
Whole lot of folks.
And out of all of them folks, women, nobody? Is that an absence of a green flag?
So I'm gonna say this. I don't like it when men say that about women, that they this age and they never been married and they don't have no kids. It's like being a baby mama or a baby dad is some type of badge of honor or a badge of authenticity. And I don't subscribe to that. I think that people should be very careful about who they have children with. And if a person doesn't have a child, um, that may reflect being more responsible in managing your body and your romantic relationships better than some of us who ended up having children with people.
And I agree on that side, because my son-in-law, that's one of the things that I definitely respect and admire about my son-in-law, because he was 41 when him and my daughter got married, and he didn't have any kids. I guess I'm really more so the whole relationship part. How do you get so far in age and desire? Now, if you have no desire to be married, I understand that, but have a desire to be married. But you saying in 45 years, you never met nobody you want to
marry? So, in that scenario, I would definitely make a mental note. I don't know. I would need more. I would gather more information to determine whether or not that was the absence of a green flag. Because here's the thing, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is not. And age, if somebody doesn't teach us something, we don't automatically, get the download at 30, because we should know this by 30. And so one of the most important places where men and women, and Black men and women in particular, could use mentorship, because I think we can use it in all areas. But it's having healthy relationships. I was over 40 when I started using the word healthy in association with relationships. I wasn't even, I was looking for all types of things in a relationship, and some of them probably could be considered healthy, but that wasn't even the mindset. So just that part alone, just looking at relationships as healthy and unhealthy, and desiring a healthy relationship, understanding a healthy relationship is what you need, and then using that information to take steps to prepare yourself to be able to be a part of a healthy relationship, that one nuance and dynamic alone is huge. And so there are so many others that I can think of where people are just, again, not naturally equipped to be able to manage, attract, or sustain what it is that they want. So a person might deep in their heart want to be married, but aren't self-aware enough, don't have anybody around them that can be honest enough to help them to get into a position where they could achieve that goal. Over the years, I have attended therapy. I've learned things about relationships. I've come to realizations, and I've gone back and either apologize, acknowledge things that I learned later that would have been very useful in some of the relationships that I had early on. I still to this day have exes come to me all the time and saying, Nyatu, when we was together, I was blaming this part and this part and this part on you. She like, but or there, like 4 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, I see this pattern and I see that it's me that's contributing to this pattern. And so, I'm 47 and I'm still learning about my own wants, my own needs. I'm still mastering and perfecting being attracted to what's good for me and not just what's good to me. So that even if a man doesn't hate and resent women, you can still find yourself attracted to women who are fiery and feisty and more spicy. Same reason, conquer. You're not trying to conquer them to hurt them or to do them wrong, but you want to overcome all that spice and feistiness and fieriness. And so, it may be that he really just doesn't desire that. It may be that he really just doesn't respect women like that or even like women like that. Or it may be that, they just don't have the tools to do what they want to do because, there are a lot of areas in people's lives that I believe sincerely in their heart, they would really, really love to be doing better. They don't really know how to.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm too empathetic, right? Sometimes I'm too understanding. Sometimes I give too much grace. But let me just say that I would definitely mark that down. I'd definitely make a mental note, and I would probably come up with some other questions to try to help myself to get a better understanding of where that guy, if I were you, where that guy is or was, that I would be asking other questions to test my theory, to see if I can get them to share more, to find out, what the true issue is there.
Well, that was the same guy that liked being, telling people
difficult. Oh yeah. Well, there it is right there. No emotional intelligence. Good luck in a relationship. It's
exactly.
Problems. So I know we're running out of time. Number 10, green flag, talks about the present and the future more than the past.
Yes.
Whew. I remember going out with this young lady and she talked to me for the whole 2 hours, even though at least 4 times I stopped her and asked her if we could talk about something else. But she insisted on telling me story after story after story of men stalking her.
Oh, God.
And exes stalking her, crashing her car, busting her windows, chasing her down, shooting in the air.
Whoa.
Some of the other things she said and did I guess the moral of the story was I got good, and it makes me go crazy. I don't know.
No.
But I wasn't interested.
You know what? So I don't know if you read my book or not, but we've talked before. I think, I have stalker stories too. I never tell my stalker stories until my issues come up. So she may not have been trying to tell you she had good. She may have been trying to warn you that she got some issues. One of my issues that I can't seem to shake, and probably just don't want to either, was I was kidnapped by one of my stalkers. So I have a problem riding with people. So men take you on a date, they want to come pick you up. Unless I really know you, I'm not getting in your car. I don't even take cabs or Ubers or Lyft. I've never, ever been in an Uber or a Lyft in my life. I've only done a couple cabs, and that was prior to that ever happening. So if somebody's telling you about their stalker, especially a woman, depending on how in depth or intense that got, she really telling you, I got some issues.
Right. And so all I can say is it was the first date, and normally I have to have a few hours worth of phone conversation with a woman to go out on a date. Sometimes somebody can catch me in a spontaneous spur of the moment mood, and she did. And so we just met for drinks without having had much conversation. And that was the only conversation for 2 hours. And it was about 5 different, there was one segue. It was about 5 stalkers.
Wow.
5 exes, and every story of every stalking move for each one. And the only sidebar conversation was that her adult daughter had been raped as a teenager, and she was frustrated with her daughter not getting over it.
What?
Yes. So I can't speak, I don't know firsthand what was going on, but she came into the restaurant and we sat down at the table. She said, "Ooh, Lord, these thongs riding up my ass too much. I'm about to go in here and take these, go in the bathroom and take these off. I'll be right back."
Those what was rattling? What?
Her thongs was running up her butt, and then she was going to the bathroom and take them off. And then 2 hours almost of nonstop stalker conversation with the one sidebar about being frustrated about her daughter.
Oh my God. Okay. That was a real winner.
Yeah. So normally I wouldn't put that on somebody. I've been stalked before. I'm sure I have told my stalker story before, but first date, 5 in a row, and not even just 5 stories in a row, but probably like 5 stories for each stalker.
Dang.
And I'm like, oh man, that is tragic. I'm so sorry that happened. Is he still stalking you? Okay, well, that's the past. Let's talk about the future. Or I don't want to learn about your stalkers. I want to learn about you. She's like, no. Let me tell you about this one. No, this one's gonna trip you out. I'm like, yeah, it's tripping me out. All right, it's tripping me out the hell out of here. So yeah, never seen her again. Never called again or anything like that. And so yeah, that some people are, and again, that's an extreme case. But again, I find that some people, all they talk about is the past, and it's like, where are you now, and where do you want to go? But if you're constantly looking at the past, that's an absence of a green flag for me. Green flags is being positive about your present and positive about your future. And I really just, when I share things about my past, I want the moral of the story is always what I learned from that and how that helped me to evolve into the person I am now. Right. So I'm a person who, being young and dumb, got a young lady pregnant when I was 13 years old. Right.
Oh, wow.
I'm 47. I ain't never had another accidental pregnancy.
Okay. Right.
Because I got scared straight, right? At 13, right? 13, you get scared straight. So when I share that story, it's not about the past. It's about how that gave me a very early lesson on being responsible with my sex life.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Also, very young age, 15, got crabs. Boom, never had a STI or STD since then.
Wow.
Learned an early lesson that made me be responsible for the whole rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? And move differently for the whole rest of my life. And so, just me. So this may not be green flags for every man, may not be universal and apply to women, but it's just me. I think when a person is talking about the past all the time, it's because they don't want to, they not want to live in the present where they are. And there's not, much light at the end of the tunnel or big plans for the future either. Just my humble opinion.
That's probably where their most excitement, or that's the most memorable thing for them, I guess. What's going on in their present isn't hitting them too much for them.
Right. The highlight of they feel like they've peaked or something, maybe.
And man, if your stalkers are the highlight of your life, that's real bad.
Absolutely. So I just got one more. I know we got 1 minute left. 11 is an important number for me, and it worked out that I had 11 green flags for myself and potentially some men. And so number 11 is that my attraction to them is more than physical. That I find them mentally, spiritually, and emotionally attractive as well. And that is a green flag for me. If all I'm doing is lusting, then I find that to be a problem. And I remember admitting that to a woman, like she flirted with me and said something about my lips and my DMs. And I sent her a GIF that says, you got me thinking about risking it all with laughing emojis. And she was like, what's wrong with risking it all? And I was like, because that's just lust, right? She's like, lust. And she went on a whole tirade about that. But yeah, I don't want to be, I was in that moment admitting to her, and maybe I shouldn't have been admitting it to her, but I did, was that I don't want to just be lusting after you. Like, what is that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's high school,
Right.
I'm a grown man. It needs to be a lot more to that. So yes, a green flag for me is being mentally, spiritually, and emotionally attracted to the woman as well as physically. So that is my 11 green flags coming in right on time at 1:30. That is what time we in, right?
Yep. But our What's Hot correspondent from DC is out of the country again. So we're not necessarily pressed for time, but yes, that is 1:30 is generally it. And I know the last time that was my bad, because I don't know what, so many of the shows are an hour each, it's a 2-hour show, and so many are an hour each, except the Thursday show. And for whatever reason, I forgot what day it was that day. So I was just okay, I got to get him out for the next segment to start. Oh my goodness, he just talking? Why he just keep talking?
Hilarious.
But yeah, that was my bad. And when I got you off, I was like, where's the next? Oh, it's Thursday. Oh man. That was so my bad. But I always enjoy your shows. You definitely offer a different point of view, even with your terminology, the presence of a green flag or the absence of a green flag versus, focusing on the negative. That person I mentioned earlier that I often have intense conversations with on my page is always so focused on the negative. And I said to him the other day that I was hoping in 2022, we could focus more on the positive, because what you focus on expands. So if we focus more on the positive, maybe we can get more positive. But that person wasn't hearing all of that anyway.
Yeah, some people are determined to be negative, or determined not to be the bigger person, or determined not to be the positive influence. What can you do?
I don't know what to do. But so when is your next show?
My next show is, let me look at the calendar. It is February the 10th.
All right, February 10th.
Absolutely. February 10th, we'll be heading into Valentine's Day season, or right in the middle of Valentine's Day season, February 10th, 4 days before. And so I know some people subscribe to it, some people don't. I do whatever makes my wife happy. And
did you say whatever makes your wife happy?
Uh-huh.
When did you get a wife?
I didn't, but you got to speak these things into existence. You got to be positive that this is going to happen. So I'm just saying that, I don't sit around dreaming about Valentine's Day. But if my wife does, then it's going to be special for me too, because I'm crazy like that, and I'll participate.
That is so sweet. And I know that you're going to find her, or you guys are going to bump into each other, or however the wording should be. I know that's coming for you for sure.
Well, we might have already bumped into each other. I'm just not married just yet.
Okay.
I'm playing, but I'm not playing. But it has been a wonderful time on the show with you. Thank you so much, Xavier, for putting this platform together. And yeah, I love Let's Talk About It, and I look forward to much more Let's Talk About It in 2022. So you have a great day, rest of your day and weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Same to you. So today is January 13th. And if you are listening to a replay of this show, be sure and catch the live shows on Mondays from 7 to 9 a.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 12 to 2. Rep your city as a correspondent on the What's Hot segment on Thursdays. So I'm still looking for correspondents for What's Hot, so you can rep your city. Come and share the upcoming events, celebrity gossip, movies to Netflix and chill with, or a good book to cuddle up with. If you're interested on being a correspondent on the What's Hot segment, Connect with me at Xavier Fox at xavierfox.com. My monthly podcast. I'm so excited. It's coming up on Sunday, January 23rd from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to talk about what makes a woman want a man and why many women are choosing to stay single now. You know, that's the thing. A lot of people are choosing to stay single, though, but more women are starting to choose single versus being in a relationship. Check my Facebook page for promos and updates. And make sure that you visit my YouTube channel, Xavier Fox Media. Click on subscribe so you don't miss any of the shows and the podcasts. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and LinkedIn as Xavier Fox. That's X-A-V as in Victor, I-A, Xavier Fox, F-O-X. My book, The Men in My Life and What I've Learned, is available on Amazon in Kindle format and paperback. And you can also purchase an autographed copy on my website, xavierfox.com. Be sure and visit the website for information on all my upcoming shows and events, as well as merchandise such as t-shirts and coffee mugs. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Tune in again tomorrow for the Financial Friday Lunchtime Talk. Oh, it's going to be good. I always look forward to Financial Friday. Carter Thorpe will be answering questions and sharing stock investment tips. And then Ron Wilson will be in the house. Not only can you hear him right here on the show, but he will also be live on my Facebook page with the charts to bring you up to date on what's going on in the world of crypto. You don't want to miss that. So until tomorrow at noon, stay safe and be prosperous. And